Shohei Ohtani said he has to get more on the same page with Dalton Rushing and KP. Oh man, for anybody, whether you're first day in the bigs or you're 15 years in the bigs, if you heard that from Shohei Ohtani, you'd be like, that hurts. And Rushing was very accountable, basically saying he sucks and he's got to be better about that particular situation. Ohtani giving up 5 earned runs across 10 starts this season with Will Smith catching. 5 earned runs across 10 starts. He's allowed 9 with Rushing behind the plate over the last 3 games. Smith's been out. So, KP, you watched many highlights from this one. Tell me what was going on to not have them be on the same page and to get Ohtani to the point that post-game, as nice as he is, he did say, hey, like, we're not on the same page. That's about as mean as you'll get from someone like Shohei.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple, close calls and some pivotal times in the game. Yes, they were a little bit earlier in the game, but they were kind of leverage counts. Runner at third base. Rushing didn't necessarily catch the ball, very cleanly in the zone. Shohei thought it was a pitch worthy of challenging. He went to, challenge it. Rushing was shaking his head. Ultimately, Ohtani was right. There was another scenario in the game where it looked like a two-seam fastball kind of ran away. And Rushing kind of went to chase after, run scored, and his body language just, wasn't good for a guy who's young, and you got the best player on the planet on the mound. But, I kind of wanted to ask Kratzy too, is it, it feels like you have to have a certain type of personality to, be a backup catcher. And I know Rushing right now is the starting catcher because Will Smith there. It just, to me, he's a young kind of budding star who has to kind of play second fiddle to Will Smith. But, I mean, do you see that as being a challenge? Because typically the backup catcher is a guy that isn't really known by the baseball world. He kind of just does his job. He can be a little bit of a punching bag for the starting pitching. He's kind of like a yes man. He'll take the blame. He would be the first guy to answer questions, be like, that's on me, not on Shohei. But it feels like there's a challenge when you do have a young kid who's coming up, who's very confident in his ability. He's very emotional. Am I seeing this correctly, Kratzy?
Spot on. You're spot on. You're spot on with it. And it's nothing against Dalton Rushing. Every player should think they are the starting catcher. And right now on this team, for the next, I think, 9 more years, Will Smith is a starting catcher. He has that contract that's going to give that to him. And the Dodgers chose to get rid of Austin Barnes and go with Dalton Rushing. Is Dalton Rushing a better catcher? Absolutely. Is Austin Barnes valuable to the team? Absolutely. So that was where my whole contradiction from what they were doing before, where they called Dalton Rushing up to be the backup, didn't know how it was going to go. I mean, the dude was on fire offensively. And so he was adding so much value to this team. For this to come out, have any other pitchers come out and said, oh, I can't throw to Dalton Rushing? No. Are other pitchers doing really well? Yes. So to me, it's just a one pitcher to that catcher, and there is pressure. I've caught aces. I've caught future Hall of Famers that are now currently Hall of Famers, and it's intimidating. As the backup catcher, you watch, okay, the starter caught this guy. He throws to him all the time. Bang, starter goes down. Now you're the guy that has to step in and catch. And it's not easy. And the whole like challenging it and everything, if that play happens and Robleski's on the mound, it's way different feeling than it is when Shohei Ohtani's on the mound. And then he says, yes, I want to challenge it. And then you're wrong. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is just compounding. For me, I love what the Dodgers did. A lot of the veterans put their arm around them, helped them out. It's because they're all with them in those situations. And yes, you're exactly right. But KP, when you're watching it, what's your view of backup catchers when you're on the teams that you were on? The best backup catchers when you were on those teams?
Great teammates, fly under the radar. I mean, maybe we might be the only guy who knows their name. Like the baseball world doesn't know their name. They fly under the radar, and they're just students of the game. Like they either kind of latch on with one starting, pitcher, gives, your starter a day off every 4 days, and he has a really good working relationship with one guy. And from everything that I've understood, and I could be wrong in this, Kratzy, but when you're a good backup catcher, you are just trying to get on the same page with that starting pitcher. You're trying to get him through that game. You're trying to put up zeros. Whatever you do offensively is a bonus. Like, you're up against the 8 ball because you're playing once every 5 days. More than likely, you're probably going against the other guy's ace. I feel like that's how it always happens for a backup catcher. But yeah, I mean, and some of those guys probably believe that they were more than a backup catcher, and that and not to say you shouldn't be confident in your ability, but you also have to understand your role in this situation.
All right, I want to take you to the Ohtani rushing situation from last night. Are you up to date on it? Did you see the interaction and everything?
I'm up to date because Claudia did a wonderful job of describing it to me. So that's why I'm up to date.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. So you have a young catcher who, in my opinion, will be a starting catcher one day, but he is in a backup role, and Will Smith is out of there. Is it fair, the criticism that he's getting from people outside of the organization, or is it one of those things that only the team knows, and Ohtani coming out and saying something means that it's gotten to DEFCON 6?
Right. The people outside the organization, as you suggested, really don't know. And I don't really care what people may say outside of the group, outside of the circled wagons. I care a lot about what's being said within the circled wagons. First of all, with Shohei, it's hard for me to believe that he's not already working on the solution to this. For me, the solution to this is Shohei, Dalton, in room, pitching coach, manager, sit there, let's talk through this. That's it. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. The Shohei, I even learned to not ask him or tell him what to do during the game. I asked him to walk Matt Olson one time, and he wagged his finger at me in the dugout, but he did go ahead and do it. And then sure enough, I did it later in the game. Then I looked up his numbers against the guy afterwards. He had struck him out like 10 out of 14 times. He knew what he was doing. Shohei knows what he's doing. So it makes the catcher's job easier. Just follow him. I would get them in a room. I would talk about it just very matter-of-factly again. And of course, Shohei needs to be in charge of this situation. He's very good at it. So this is another situation. There's been others, the Devers situation recently, all this stuff, Chisholm, with a blow pop in his mouth and on the infield. A lot of these things are just a product of social media. Listen, it's a bad look, bad optics. No, not disagreeing. But they get way more attention than they deserve. This is the kind of stuff when it wasn't as prevalent to be these kind of things being discussed, that stuff would have been handled in the locker room. Chisholm would have been told, listen, brother, never do that again. I never want to see you walk out there like that again. This kid here, listen, if Shohei wants to do something, that's how it's going to be. And if we'll sit down and we'll talk to him, and it's going to be all worked out. And with Devers, of course he was being obstinate, not coming off the field. I don't care what he says. That's what I saw too. These are the kind of things that should, through conversation, go away very quickly. You do not give them any more impetus than they absolutely need. And furthermore, I want people to start watching the game. I watch cutoffs and relays. I watch first to third running. I watch a two-strike approach at the plate. To talk about these superfluous things really bothers me because that's everybody's glommed onto. Talk about the bullpens, talk about the game, but this other stuff is ancillary and should be handled among the group, put away within minutes. You attack it quickly and it goes away.